All right, joining me today is Jason Autrey, the Public Works Director for Okaloosa County.
Yep.
Jason, thanks for joining me.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
Let's talk about the decision from the Board of County Commissioners regarding recycling and the option that they chose.
Sure. So as you probably saw in the board meeting, there were three options that were presented to the board. One of the options was to continue the recycling through ECUA, the program through them. That came at a cost. Another option, the exact opposite end of that, was to completely just get rid of recycling altogether. There was a mild savings in the long run, but there were some reasons why it wasn't just a straight reduction of the cost. And then kind of the middle ground, which is where the board went with, was a modified approach towards recycling, where we collect the recyclable materials in the same yellow top containers that you have been using for the past 3 years. That is collected separately from the solid waste, your household waste. It is then transported to the Spring Hill Landfill, which is a waste to energy landfill, where once the material is inside of there, we actually capture the methane gas off of it, or waste management captures the methane gas off of it, and they turn that into energy. So it's not the truest recycling in terms of you're taking an aluminum can and reusing it as an aluminum can later on, but it is getting the maximum value out of that material for the most practical cost.
So let's talk about the dollar aspect that I think caught a lot of people's attention. Sure. And they're like, well, I would gladly spend an extra $1, $12 a year, whatever, if it means that I can continue to recycle. So tell me a little bit about the dollar.
Where did that come from? Yep. So the dollar is generated on, if we were to continue our recycling through ECUA, it was going to cost the county more. And from the county's perspective, we have to look at it on an annual cost to us directly. Now, of course, there's the billing that goes to the customer, but the cost to the county would have been approximately $350,000 per year. You break that down, that's the dollar per customer that you look at. But that number is an estimate. And what we're gauging that on is what that commodity costs us now. There's the very real potential it goes up. It's just like the stock market. I don't know what it's going to do tomorrow. Right. The market for recycled materials the exact same way. That's where it is now. There is the opportunity that would go up to another $10 per ton more, which would have equated to yet another $1 to the customer. So it was not known exactly what it was. There's also the potential across the state. What we were looking at was paying $41 per ton. Right now, there are other entities that are paying $125 per ton. So if it goes really awry, that cost could go much, much more than that $1. So that $1 is an estimate based on what it is right now, but it had the potential to expand for sure in the future.
Gotcha. So it's $1 now. That was just based on estimates, but
right. Yeah. That's based on what it would cost us today.
Today,
yes, sir.
So let's go back and talk a little bit about the landfill that pulls the methane gas.
Okay. So when you put any material in a landfill, it naturally compresses down, and that compression over time generates heat and it breaks materials down. Organic materials, so your banana peels, your orange peels, you throw away some extra food product that you have, that compresses it down. And then anything that's got a pulp to it, so papers, cardboard, those kind of materials, it compresses them down. That organic material releases a gas called methane gas. If you do not capture it or allow it to release, you essentially will build a bubble that's explosive inside that landfill. So what they have now is a technology that captures that gas, and it's a series of pipes that collects it and it feeds it into a collection system, and then you can turn that gas and burn it into energy. So you can convert that gas into a renewable energy source. We're very fortunate that we are able to dispose of that at the Spring Hill Landfill that Waste Management owns and operates. But it is a way that you can get some credit for the waste that is put in there. You do gain some value out of it in terms of a renewable source.
Now with the trash that will be going there as well, is there a credit associated with that, since it will all be going to basically the same landfill?
Yes, it does essentially, it does go to the same landfill. Anyone who's essentially, it will, at the current option does put it in the same landfill, but yes, there is a credit that is received for all material that goes into that landfill.
What do you think Okaloosa County needs to be able to do to educate the public more as far as what goes into this single stream recycling?
Yeah, that's always a struggle. Even if you have a very robust recycling program and it is going and you are recycling a can for a can or plastic for plastic, we always run the risk of contamination. Education of the source, which is the residents, is always a key component of it. One of the things that we will do is work with our vendor on getting that word out in terms of what should go into your recycling bin. The reason it gets confusing, there's several aspects of it. First of all, there's the straight contamination approach, which is we would all think cardboard is recycling. Your pizza comes in a cardboard box. However, once you get grease on that cardboard, it is contaminated. Even worse, if you put that in the recycling bin and it gets onto other items, you now contaminate the load, which is problematic. So understanding what a clean recyclable is. The second part of it is there are some items that have that triangular, rounded triangle that have a number with a circle on it. You say, hey, this is recyclable.
Right.
It is true to a degree. We don't have the facilities around here that can process those materials. So I think the term wish cycling came up, and that's kind of where that comes from. Well, I wish we could recycle that here, but it's an item that we can't. Commonly around here, the one we see are what we call thin plastics. So when you get a package from Amazon and it's got the air inflated bubbles inside of it, if you look on that thing, it's got the green triangle all over it. Hey, I can recycle that. It's just not recyclable here.
Talking about the facilities around here, once the recyclable materials leaves Okaloosa County, is that where it ends with you guys?
So what you're talking about is where do we control it?
Yes.
Where do we control our stream? So we technically control it when it comes out of your house. You put it on the curb and it's collected by our vendor. We control it there. It goes to our transfer station. So what that means is all the different green trucks, they go to one building and they dump it into a pile there. We control that pile. It's loaded into another truck that's a larger haul transfer truck, and it takes it to the facility. In the case of solid waste, it would transport it to the Spring Hill Landfill over in Jackson County. In terms of the recyclable materials, it is currently today going to ECUA. Once we deliver it to the facility, it goes across a scale and they weigh it. We no longer own it. We no longer have control of it. They do with it what they do with it. They process it, they store it, they dispose of it, they declare contaminant. Whatever they do, it is out of our control. So once we cross their scales, they own that commodity.
Gotcha. This will go into effect at the end of this month?
Yes, so our contract with ECUA expires on September 30th, and then beginning October 1 is when the new contract with Waste Management, we're having a revision. That is when they will take recyclable material to the Spring Hill Landfill. We got to be good stewards of a lot of things, and it's always a delicate balance. There's a large component of this is a financial decision. Certainly, it would be fantastic if we could take all of our refuse and recycle it. The problem is it costs money to do those things. And so there's a fiduciary responsibility that the Board of County Commissioners has to make sure that we're doing what is the right thing to do. That $1 may not seem like much, but a few years ago we redid our contract. It went up by 20–30%, which was a couple of dollars.
Right. And
there was a severe amount of backlash. And I think our board remembers that. So what this option they selected is kind of a good intermediate balance. Yes, we understand it's not true recycling, but it also is not getting rid of the program altogether. This allows us to gain some credit back from a recycling standpoint by putting it into that landfill. We also don't raise the cost to our customers, and when that market turns back, all we have to do is just shift where the disposal site is, and we can get back into the game. And back in 2010, we were getting paid $60 a ton for recyclable material. Now we're talking about paying $41 to $51 per ton. So you can see the swing that it has, and it is about making the right financial choice. So for now, this is the direction of the board. We're going to execute that with Waste Management, with our vending contractor, and we're optimistic that it is going to get better in the future. And regardless of what the market does, whether it goes better or it gets worse, we will have to make a decision at that point in time the best way to handle the material.
Jason, thanks so much for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.